Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha. श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। Om Shri Medha Dakshinamurti Swamine Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Namaste once again to all of you.
Namaste, Guruji.
I think we got very low attendance today because of Kartikeya probably. I don't know. Anyhow, we will continue with what we are doing. So in the last class, we saw the meanings of 5 slokas. First 5 Mangala slokas, the invocatory verses. And the last one we saw was Avikaraya Shuddhaya Nityaya Paramatmane Sadega Rupa Rupaya Vishnave Sarva Jishnave. This meaning we saw. So now we will go ahead. The next sloka, which is the last sloka, which is not there in Mahabharata. These are all invocatory or Mangala slokas which have been added sometime later. So the last sloka is Yasya Smarana Matrena Janma Samsara Bandhanat Vimuchyate Namastasmai Vishnave Prabha Vishnave. Om Namo Vishnave Prabha Vishnave. So this is a very, very important sloka. Even though it is not found in the original Mahabharata or Vishnu Sahasranamam of Mahabharata, this sloka conveys a very profound message. So we need to understand this sloka very well. The import of the sloka we have to understand. And before that, let us just go through the word meanings and then see what this sloka conveys. Okay. So this sloka is given after our salutations to Mahavishnu in the previous sloka, Avikaraya Shuddhaya sloka. We have given to us Mahavishnu Vandanam. So this follows that, right? So in one way, this sloka indicates the result of what we will get by doing Mahavishnu Vandanam, praying to Mahavishnu. So it can be taken as a Phalashruti, a sort of a mini Phalashruti, which occurs right in the beginning of the Vishnu Sahasranamam itself. So the meaning is Namaha. Namaha means salutations, right? Namastasmai is the word. Namaha tasmai. Tasmai means to the one who is, right? So Namaha, salutations to the one who is Vishnave Prabha Vishnave, who is the Lord Vishnu, who is Almighty. Prabha Vishnave, right? So salutations to the one who is Lord Mahavishnu. That is the meaning of this particular portion of the sloka. But then why salutations? The reason is given. Yasya Smarana Matrena. Just by taking the name or remembering who. Mark the word, just by taking the name or remembering whom, vimuchyate, one is liberated, freed from, Freed from what? Janma samsara bandhana. From the bondage or shackles. Bandhana means bondage or shackles, which ties one down. From the bondage of what? Janma, birth, samsara. These two words are very technical words occurring in the Vedanta Shastra. So we need to understand what these two words mean and why they are bondage and why it is necessary for us to get rid of those bondage. So in essence, this shloka says that if you just take the name or even remember Vishnu, Mahavishnu in your mind, you will be freed from the bondage of Janma and Samsara. So this is a very profound thing. That means what? Everybody who just takes the name, he will be freed, he will get moksha. So does this shloka mean that? That we have to understand. Okay. So in this shloka, a very mundane aspect or what can say of our life or routine of our life is introduced. And that is referred to here as bandhana. Bandhana means, as I said, bondage or shackles. Yeah. And what is the nature of that bondage? That bondage consists of two things, janma and samsara, as I told you. And janma means birth. Okay. That we all know. Janma means birth. So, birth in this world itself is considered to be a bondage. So, because of that, some people think that when the body falls, the bondage goes away. That is thinking of a lot of people. In fact, not only some people, lot of even some philosophers believe in that. That with the end of the body, the bondage goes away. But what we believe is that the bondage with this particular body may go away, but then the bondage continues in the form of a rebirth. You are again born. So this bondage continues in the form of punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. So this cycle of birth and deaths in which you are caught from time beginningless. You don't know when this cycle started. And you also don't know when it is going to end. It continues. And in the process, you are going on collecting so many karmas, punya and papas in your karma account, which you have to exhaust because it is your own doing. It is the result of whatever you are doing now in this birth or what you have done in your previous births. Since you have sown the seed of this punya and papa, you have to reap the crop also. You cannot escape. So this will go on as long as you are born again. You earn punya karmas and papa karmas. You have to exhaust those punya karmas and papa karmas. You, for that purpose, you take another body. And in that body, you again earn more punya karmas and papa karmas. And so this catch-22 situations, this cycle goes on. It's a vicious cycle, as they call it. So that is declared as one type of bondage. You are bound by this cycle of, rebirths. And that bondage will continue till you get liberation or moksha or freedom from this cycle of rebirth. So this is one aspect of the bondage. And Shastra says that one of the main causes of all your sufferings, miseries, sorrows, everything in your life is your birth itself. Isn't it? That is why when we are born, we start crying. The first thing that we do when we are born in this world is to cry. And even if we don't cry, for whatever reason, the nurses and all will make us cry. Typical of what happens through our entire life. Either we cry on our own or other people make us cry. So this crying is the main feature which starts right from the minute we are born. And the whole life we keep on crying. Even in old age also, when we are, afflicted by so many ailments, so many emotional problems because, X, Y, Z is not caring for me. My children don't bother for me. My spouse is busy in his or her own, tasks and doesn't care for me. I don't get sleep at night. I am old. I can't walk without a walking stick or some other, what contrivance or some other help rather, or somebody has to hold my hand to make me walk. All these forms of crying. So right from birth till end, we keep on crying. That is the base. In between, sometimes we have certain happy moments. That's all. So Shastra says that this is why this birth is a bondage. The birth itself is the cause of all your sorrows. If you are not born, you have no sorrow. So what you should do if you want to avoid sorrow, you must avoid being born again. And that is what is the entire Vedanta is about, how to avoid rebirth. So this is about future. You can avoid, because now you are already born, you can't do anything. So about future, Janma, how to avoid that rebirth. So this is one aspect of the bondage, right? Because we don't know, next birth we can be born as a human being, a plant, an animal. All are jivas only, life forms. And in every jiva, whatever you are, this pain, dukkha is always there. You are an animal, painful living. Nobody to cook your food and serve you. You have to go and hunt and have your food. Sometimes you have to go without food for days together. If you are a plant, still worse. People attack you, people cut you. You can't even run away. You are stavaram, you are stuck to a particular place. But you are born as a plant because of your own karmas. You can be born as a plant and suffer all the sufferings which people heap upon you. If you are born as a plant in some desert or a jungle, still worse, you won't get even water unless it rains. Nobody is going to come and water you. So all these are all, various forms of sufferings that all jivas go through, and all that because the birth, they take birth. So that is what he says. This should be avoided. And this suffering or miseries, right? Second type of that is that in this life, the sufferings that are miseries that we undergo, that is called samsara. So the first one was rebirth, which is called janma. And whatever we are undergoing, sufferings and miseries in this life is called samsara. And this samsara in the Shastra has got another name, which is called bhava roga. Bhava roga, right? Bhava means to become. Bhudatu. Bhava. We say, no? Sukhi bhava. May you become happy. Ashirvad. Ashirlingi give bhava. So bhava roga means, roga is a disease. So Shastra says this is a disease of becoming. Does it mean? That's why Dayanand Swami defines this as a life of becoming is called samsara. He calls it samsara. Samsara, he defines it as life of becoming. All our sufferings, if you sit and analyze, is all because of all struggles in our life for that matter, because we are leading a life of becoming. Today we are something and we want to become something else. Isn't it? Just to think about it. Today I am a bachelor, I want to become a married man. So I struggle for that. If I have to become a married man, I will have to support the family. So I struggle to get a job and struggle to get some earning. First, starting of this becoming business. Then I am a married man. I want to become a father or mother. Life of becoming. I have become a father or mother. I am not happy. I want to become the father-in-law or mother-in-law. So get the children married. Good. That is over. Still I am not happy. I want to become grandfather, grandmother. This goes on endlessly. Take another dimension. I am living in a rented house. I want to become a house owner. Life of becoming. You struggle for that. Earn more money in all possible ways. Some people work morning one shift, evening one shift, earn more and more money. Why? I want to become a house owner. I want to buy a house. You have become a house owner. Very good. Now I want to become a car owner. Go to banks, take lot of loans, everything, mortgage. First, a house itself you have taken mortgage, right? Then car, again another vehicle loan you take, another EMI and all. Take one credit card also, because that is also part of this becoming process. So you want to become something from car owner, you want to become a bungalow owner from that. Like that, you want to keep on becoming in this life. So if you just think about it, this Bhavaroga is our main problem. All our struggles, miseries, and whenever we are attempting to do anything, either we may succeed or we may fail, isn't it? But all our struggles are to succeed. We put in all the efforts, struggle, undergo all sorts of travails. Only what? We don't want to fail. So, whenever we are wanting to succeed in whatever we are doing, all these problems, they automatically get attracted. So, this is what Swami Dayananda Saraswati says, a life of becoming, and that is what is defined here as samsara. So, if you have to escape from that, is there a way? First way we have seen, stop rebirth. Right? The second way is Vedanta says, yes, there is a way, we will teach you that. But right now, that is not the time. Let us first understand the samsara business fully, what it is. Right? So, all this life of becoming, this is what is called samsara. And in the process, we run from pillar to post, face disappointments, failures, which cause unhappiness. So, always we do not accept ourselves as we are. We are always looking to become something else than what we are. So, non-acceptance of the self is the basis or is the root for this entire samsara. So, this is one way of looking at samsara. And Adi Shankara, in Viveka Chudamani, he gives a very more involved definition of the samsara. As I told earlier also, the whole scheme of our scriptures is to emphasize that the ultimate goal of a human being should be moksha. That is the ultimate goal, the Purushartha, four Purusharthas we saw initially in between. So the moksha is the last Purushartha, final Purushartha, Parama Purushartha. And that Purushartha of moksha is what is referred to in this sloka as Vimuchyate, freed from bondage. So the moksha basically is freedom from samsara. That is what is defined in the Shastras as moksha. So in Viveka Chudamani, Adi Shankara raises this question, Ko Nama Bandhanam. What is this bondage all about? What is the nature of this bondage? And Swami Paramarthananda recently has been explaining this Viveka Chudamani classes he has been taking. Beautifully is explained this bandhan. But I will share with you whatever I learned from him. He says this bandhanam is a technical word in the Shastra. It's a Shastric word. So it should have a Shastric explanation or a definition. What we have seen till now as Swami Dayananda Saraswati's explanation is what we can call it a Laukika explanation. A explanation from the point of view of our day-to-day life. But how does Shastra look at this bandhanam? We have to understand. And that's a more involved definition. Unless we understand that, we will not be able to understand what this moksha means. Okay. Because we will just say moksha means freedom, liberation and all. But the question is liberation from what? And why is this bondage occurring? What is the process from this, because of this bondage is occurring? What is this freedom we are talking about? Are we talking about freedom from our family? Are we talking about freedom from this body? Are we talking about freedom from so many problems, including coronavirus? Isn't it? So what is this freedom? So in order to understand what this Shastra says about this moksha or freedom or liberation, we have to fully understand what Shastra defines this bondage as. And that is very important for us to understand, right? So I will not go into too much detail, but I will just briefly give you the thinking process of this, how this bondage is caused, right? The first point is the Shastra actually divides this entire cosmos into two parts. One it calls Atma, which we have seen in the beginning, Satchidananta Swarupa, which is the consciousness principle, the existence principle, and the happiness principle. Or you can also call it as the limitlessness principle. These are all pure existence, pure consciousness, pure happiness. They cannot be objectified. You can experience them only through objects. So on the one hand, Shastra says that what is there is this Atma in this universe, and all other things are called Anatma, which is not Atma, is Anatma. So this Atma actually refers to the real nature of the self, of oneself, the inner self. And Shastra says that please understand this body, mind, sense complex by their nature are inert. They have no life. But because of this Atma, this consciousness principle, existence principle, and happiness principle, this body, mind, sense complex of yours becomes sentient. That is why in a dead body, when the Atma leaves the dead body cannot do anything. This body becomes dead. Dead means what Atma has left. As long as Atma is there pervading this body, mind, sense complex, this body can do all transactions with this world. Pervading means what? The existence of this body, when you say I am, that amness of this body is led by what? Pure existence, the principle of existence. This consciousness of this body, I am able to do all actions, I am conscious, I can understand, I can read, I can gain knowledge. How this body can do that? It is because this body is pervaded by the consciousness, pure consciousness. That is the reason why this body is working. If you remove this pure existence, if you remove this pure consciousness, this body will fall. Finished. So this is the starting point. Shastra says, understand this aspect. That there is an Atma, which is your real nature. Satchidananda Atma is your real nature. And everything else, including your body, mind complex, is Anatma. So this is the first point. But what happens is, we don't know this. We don't know this fact. And because of our lack of knowledge, what we are doing, we are taking this body, mind, sense complex as ourselves, our real nature. And that is why, and that is very evident, right? That from the way we actually converse, because according to the Shastra, this Atma, this pure existence, pure consciousness, and pure happiness, these principles, they are actually independent, they are already free. There can be no bondage on those. Bondage can be there only on your body, mind, sense complex, because it is inert, it is anatma. But what is happening is that there is a mixture happening between this atma and anatma in our intellect, in our mind, or intellect. And because of this mix-up which is happening, we are taking this body-mind complex as real, as the, our real self, and we have no knowledge, or we are totally ignorant about our real self. So this combination of, on the one hand, ignorance of the self, and on the other hand, taking the misconception of assuming this body-mind complex as the self, as the I, whenever you say I, as the I, is the problem for this bondage, this samsara. This is the first point which Shastra says. So, what is the basis of this problem? The basis of this problem is an intellectual problem. Intellectual, because my lack of understanding of my real nature and my total misunderstanding or misconceiving of what my body-mind complex is. Which is what? It is an intellectual problem. And the moment that intellectual problem comes in and we take this body-mind complex as real, as our real nature, then all the problems and everything this body, mind, sense complex faces, experiences, we take it as we are experiencing and we are facing them. That is a result of this intellectual problem. It has, filtered down to identification with everything. Everything else is anatma only. But by falsely giving this anatma, this body-mind complex, the status of an atma, we get into, and that is an intellectual issue, right? Because of intellectual ignorance, we get into this problem. And the moment we get into this problem, it leads to all emotional problems. So the bond, see, I am fat, emotional problem. I want to become thin. Right? Many people have this. They go to gym and all that, stop eating. Why? Because you don't understand what you are. You are taken your wrong understanding of your real nature, what you are. Similarly, mind is disturbed. I am disturbed. You are not disturbed. You can never be disturbed. You are pure consciousness. But I am disturbed. I am hurt. I am guilty. All these things we are superimposing on our own self, and what started as an intellectual problem comes down as an emotional problem. So this combination of these two is what is all samsara is about. And this is very simply I am explaining. There is a lot more details rather. So what the Shastra says is that you must understand that this body-mind complex is a costume that you are wearing. What you have done is that in your delusion, in your misunderstanding, you have taken this costume as yourself. And when the costume is torn, you say, I am torn. When the costume is dirty, you say, I am dirty. Why? Because of this misunderstanding that you have taken yourself as a costume. What is reborn is not this body. What is reborn is another body, another costume you take. The Atma, the pure consciousness in you, takes another body, another costume. That's all. It is only, like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Vasamsi Jirnani Yata Vihaya. What is this rebirth? Just like, all the old clothes we discard and then wear new clothes, that is what is a new birth. The person doesn't change. He is just changing his dress. But what happens, since we are actually identifying with that, that costume that we are wearing, we think that we are changing. So this is a important aspect that we have to understand, and this is the cause for all our problems, all our miseries in our life, sorrows in our life. So whenever I am claiming that I am suffering, I am miserable and all that, and we say that is the bondage or bandhanam, it is all false, because this is happening because of the ignorance of the self. And the only way out of is to remove ignorance, you need knowledge. So self-knowledge is the only way you can get rid of this samsara. Right? So body is not the bondage. Identification with the body is the bondage. Deha abhimana, that is the bondage. Which I said is an intellectual problem. Because of lack of understanding, we are having this deha abhimana. Right? So concluding that I am the body is the problem. And also Shastra says this problem happens only with the body, mind, sense complex. It doesn't happen with anything else. As I think explained the first class, when I gave a brief introduction about Vedanta. Why this happens only with this body, mind complexes? It is the closest to our real existence, our real nature. It is the closest. So that is why this, superimposition happens. In fact, Shastra talks about, upadhi, upahitam and all that, how the process takes place. We won't go into that, all those details, right? So body is not the problem. The identification with the body is the problem. Concluding that I am the body is the problem. Actually, mind also is not a problem. Actually, it is a blessing. Because using the mind only, we can get the self-knowledge. Right? In fact, this body also is a blessing only, because you having within the body and mind only, the pure consciousness, the pure existence can transact with this world. So they are blessings. They are very good costumes, like military uniform, very nice. We must maintain them. We must not ignore them. Wash them, iron them, make it spick and span. Keep it well, both body and mind. But understand that is not you. You are different from this body-mind complex. That understanding has to come. And because of the lack of understanding is all these troubles, everything which experiences we undergo, we are superimposing on ourselves and say, I am Dukhi, I am Sukhi, I am this, I am that, and all that, right? And then the samsara begins. And once this happens, because of this identification, all these punya papas start coming in. Atma doesn't have any punya papa. Your real nature, you don't have any punya papa. All the punya papa is because of this body, actions of the body, mind, sense complex. But what happens, because I take myself to be this body, mind, sense complex, I am attracting these punya papas. And because the punya papas are attracted, what happens? I have been given a free will. Some of the papas give me bad experiences. So I start fighting those bad experiences with my free will. I don't want bad experiences. Because what is my nature? My nature is pure happiness. And every entity always flows toward, it moves towards its original nature. That is the law of nature, rather. So my original nature is pure happiness. So whenever I am confronting some unhappy situations, I means this body mind complex which I have taken myself to be that, I am uncomfortable. I want to get rid of it. Then I know Bhagavan has given me a free will. I can get rid of it using my free will. So a fight between free will and these karmas start. The prarabdha karma with which I have bought, which is what I am exhausting in this particular life, which is what is giving me all these experiences of, good experiences also because of punya karmas, and bad experiences because of the past papa karmas I am facing. I don't want to, experience the bad experiences of papa karma. So I have a free will, I will fight. So Swami Paramatmananda says it's a boxing match. Every day a boxing match between free will on the one side and our prarabdha karmas on the other side. Keep fighting. Someday free will wins, someday prarabdha karma wins. This goes on throughout our life. This boxing match, isn't it? So what happens is, and it is a very unfair match, because whatever is afflicting our body, mind and complex, we can see them. The effect of it we can see. But what is causing it, we cannot see. We can't see our karmas. We can't see our punya papas. So the punya papas are like, in some movies and all they show. I remember Mr. India or some movie. The person, he becomes a spirit rather. He becomes invisible. Then he is fighting the villain. The villain knows that there is an invisible hero in the scene. And this hero will actually punch the villain. But the villain will not know from where the punch is coming. So he can't avoid it rather. So like that this goes on. So then the villain will find out some methodology, some light and all that he will throw, and then he will see that, invisible man, make him visible. And like that, the free will and this invisible karmas, they keep fighting with each other. So my body cannot see the prarabdha, right? What is going to happen tomorrow? What is going to happen after 10 years? After what is 20 years? I can't see. Today you are all saying happy birthday. When I am, if I live long, Another 10, 15 years, what is going to be this condition of this body, whether it's going to be a happy birthday or a sad birthday, we don't know. Isn't it? So, whether I'll be healthy or sick and all these things we don't know. Everything the prarabdha karma will give whenever the right time comes. But I keep on fighting that. I am worried about it. Right? That causes me misery. When I see other people, old people and all that, how they are suffering. Yeah, I will also become old one day. I will also suffer like that. But that thought itself makes me miserable. This is all the samsara we have to understand, right? So this unpredictability business in our life is what is causing all our sorrows and miseries. But we want the life to be predictable. Unpredictability we don't want. We want everything to be predictable. So this is the constant struggle we undergo. And that's what Shastra says, that if you want to end this constant struggle, the root cause is ignorance of your real self. The moment you understand your real self, after understanding, the moment you start disidentifying yourself with this body, mind, sense complex, the moment you start understanding that this body, mind, sense complex is only a costume that I am wearing, it is only a vesham, it is not me. The moment you understand that this is only a role play I am doing in this entire drama which is going on around me with so many characters, my parents, my spouse, my children, my relatives, my friends, all are characters in a big drama. And I am one of the characters, this body-mind complex. The moment you understand that and you start abiding in that understanding, this samsara will go away. That is all about what all Upanishads talk about. Bhagavad Gita talks about. That is what is called self-knowledge, and that is the beginning and end of Vedanta. That is the message which Vedanta gives. Right? So as I said, intellectual starts with intellectual problem, becomes to emotional problems, and this is how Shastra looks at bondage. So it is not a physical bondage or a physical chain. We have to we have a very strong identification with the body now, which is the cause for all these struggles. Because the other thing is also there. Shastra says that as Sachidananda, you are immortal. Your nature is immortal. You have no birth, no death. We are actually that. But what happens? Since we are taking this body-mind complex to be ourselves, we want to make this body-sense complex immortal. Why? Our nature is immortal. So we are trying to superimpose that immortality on this body-mind sense complex. So when you're growing old, you do so many things, kaya, kalpa and all that, reduce your age, look younger. By doing all these things, you are assuming that you will continue to live ever. If this thing is sagging, go to some parlor and get it fixed up. All this we do, thinking that doing all these things we will become immortal, we will never die. The worst thing, there's one Mahatma said, which is the biggest joke in the world. He said the biggest joke in the world is when a person visits a cremation ground or a burial ground, wherever it is. He feels very compassionate for the person who is dead and all that. Not a single moment he thinks that he will actually be also in the same position one day. If you are born, you have to die. That's the law of nature. Only what is not born doesn't have death. And Shastra says you are not born. Your real nature, as per your real nature, you are never born. So you will never die. You are immortal. But you are now trying to make your body-mind complex immortal. That is another big struggle we do. That is another aspect of our samsara. We are trying to make this body mind complex immortal by doing so many things now. But it can never be. You may probably be able to prolong the life depending upon your prarabdha karma, but it can never become immortal. So we have to understand all these things. So the punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, everything is all attached to this, the karmas which we earn in this body, in the previous bodies which we have earned. So these two aspects of what is called samsara from a shastric angle, they are interlinked. Rather, the punarapi, the rebirth is interlinked to this earning of this punya papa in this life, and punya papa is linked with being reborn. So this cycle is continuing, right? So what this shloka is saying, coming back to that, yasya smarana matrena janma samsara bandhanat vimuchyate. Okay, we have done almost half an hour, 40 minutes. We have talked about what is the samsara, bandhana, and all that. Isn't it? But the shloka says, just take the name of Mahavishnu. Remember, don't even need to say the name. Smarana matrena, just remembering Mahavishnu, you will be freed. Now that has got a very different connotation. So if you have to be freed from that by remembering, means the moment you remember Mahavishnu, you will eventually die. So that neither the body is there nor the samsara will be there. Isn't it? That is not possible. Everybody who remembers Mahavishnu, if they have to die, then it will be worse than corona. But we have to understand what this mantra, what this sloka means. As I told earlier also, this Vishnu Sahasranamam is a sadhana. When Parayana, Vishnu Sahasranamam Parayanam is a sadhana which gives you Chitta Shuddhi. So when this shloka is saying Janma Samsara Bandhanat Vimuchyate, how Yasya Smarana Matrena, it is actually glorifying the name of Mahavishnu and trying to make us understand that this is only one name I have told you till now, Mahavishnu. 1,000 names are coming, following. Every name you take, it will take you one more step towards that moksha goal, one more step towards that moksha. Because in Shastra, we will find these kind of glorification very often. Here it will say, Yasya Smarana Matrena Janma Samsara Bandhanat Muchyate. Some other says, you say Lalita Sahasranamam, you will be freed from Janma Samsara Bandhanat. Every shloka which has been, composed will guarantee that you will be rid of moksha. Now, why so many shlokas? One is enough, So we have to understand the context. It is all glorification in order to make it attractive for people to work towards that moksha purushartha, moksha goal. That is the purpose of all these shastras, all these slokas and all that. All these, Sahasranamams. So whenever we chant, what is happening is, one time we remember Vishnu, in small bit of our chitta, our mind becomes pure, clean. We must remember that our mind has got so much of dirt. Dirt in the form of all these things, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. Superimposed on that is all these karmas, papa, punya. All these things, from birth after birth, we have collected, and it is a big chunk. So when we talk of Chitta Shuddhi, do you mean to say that in one stroke you can clean the mind? No. Just to imagine a mirror which has been there from 200 years in some attic, taking all the dust. By just taking one sponge, can you clean the mirror in one shot? Not possible. You have to go on rubbing. Similarly, every time you say Vishnu Sahasranama, what you are doing is you are going on rubbing. And unless you completely become, not completely, I could say relatively become a very clear mirror. Your mind becomes relatively like a clear mirror. The guru who shows you the shastra, you will not be able, it will not be reflecting, it will not be able to reflect in your mind. If the wisdom of the shastra, if the message of the shastra has to reflect in your mind has to become relatively clear. And that is what this Vishnu Sahasranamam does. This is why I have emphasized that point earlier. I am re-emphasizing here because we need to understand what it means by Janma Samsara Bandhanat Vimuchyate. We must not misunderstand what is being said. This is just glorification, what is called Arthavada in the Shastra. Right? So many times such statements are made in the Shastra. Like example, I think I gave you, like we tell the child, you get good marks in your secondary examination, school final examination, you will become a collector. Does it mean, do we really mean that by if he gets A plus grade, he will immediately be appointed as a collector? No. But that is required if he has to get good admission in a good university or a college, and then get a good course. Then he studies well in that, and then he appears for collector examination, whatever it is, it will prepare him for that collector position or any equivalent position to have a collector. I mean, collector is just an example. Any equivalent position. So it is like that. But what we tell the child, study very well in this school final, you can become this, you can become a CEO, you can become a collector, you can become this, you can become that. Similarly, he says that to Vishnu Sahasranamam, just even if you can't chant, keep that name of Mahavishnu in your mind always. Then the more you actually, this is what I told you in one of the earlier classes, bringing more and more Ishvara into your life. Pujya Swamiji always used to emphasize. Unless you do that, everything else is all just what we can say, just talks. Not really, it will not do anything, because you cannot have Vedanta without Ishvara. Ultimately, you will understand that Ishvara is yourself only. So, in fact, if you go to the end, you cannot have anything, any knowledge without yourself. When you come to that complete circle, you will understand what Ishvara means. Bringing more and more Ishvara into your life means what? The glories of Ishvara, if you keep on collecting in your mind, understanding those glories, eventually when you are told that you are that Ishvara, Tattvamasi, then you will understand all these glories which I have been understanding are my glories. That is the beauty of this entire Vedanta study. We don't know that. We don't know any of our glories. We are actually very, very glorious. In fact, today Swami Paramathananda was saying that only in the Vedanta class we say that you are a glorious human being. Everywhere else, everybody else says you are an idiot, you are a fool, you don't know anything and all that, especially between spouses, very common, right? Only in Vedanta class you will be told here you are glorious, and also Guru will become very, very, a provider of happiness. Because when somebody tells you are glorious, you are great, it gives such a happy feeling to us, isn't it? So this is the entire scheme. So we must understand that Yasya Smarana Matrena Janma Samsara Bandhanat Muchite means that by taking the name of Mahavishnu, by bringing more and more Ishvara in our life, we will be set on the path of Chitta Shuddhi, more and more purity of our mind, our intellect we will achieve, which eventually will lead to moksha, lead to self-knowledge and lead to moksha. So this is the entire meaning of this particular sloka. I have taken one class for this sloka, but I felt that when we go forward, all these needs to be understood. Because from the next sloka onwards, the bhashyam starts. This is the last sloka of the non-Mahabharata, that is the slokas which are not in Mahabharata, right? And then it ends, Om Namo Vishnave Prabha Vishnave. This is chanted as per Sampradaya to mark the end of this section. So this section is over with Om Namo Vishnave Prabha Vishnave. That's it, right? So salutation to the mighty, almighty Vishnu. By remembering whose name one will gain enough purity of mind to pursue Atmajnanam and be freed from the cycle of births and deaths, and also one will be liberated from this bondage of samsara. This is the entire message contained in this one sloka. So this is what we have to understand. So and then there are these are the 6 additional slokas which I told you, which are there in the Purva Bhaga, which are not there in Mahabharata text. And the actual Vishnu Sahasranama Purva Bhaga, as per Mahabharata text, and also the commentary of Adi Shankaracharya now starts after this. So we are done with non-Mahabharata portion. Now we will enter the commentary of Adi Shankara. I have already sent you a PDF file. What I thought was, it may be difficult for many people who are not in India to procure this copy of that book. And I also don't know how many people actually can follow Devanagari script. But still, I felt that I had done some work on this earlier of trying to type out this. So it's not a very big job, rather it's a very simple one. And since we are going to study this in over every weekend only, little by little I will actually prepare it and send it across to you. So I've sent you the PDF file. So when we start next week, we will start with the text. And the most important thing is, even though there is a Purva Bhaga and Mangala Shlokas in the Mahabharata text, Adi Shankara has composed 3 Mangala Shlokas of his own before he starts the Bhashya. So we will start with the Adi Shankara's Mangala Shlokas and then we will go into the Bhashya. Okay, so we will end here now and then take any questions if they are there. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mama. Dhanyawad Mahodaya. Namaste.
Thank you. Happy birthday once again.
Happy birthday, Guruji.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
you.
Blessings.
Happy birthday, Mama.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
Namo Namaha.
Namaste,
So,
Guruji.
Rajani is there ready with the questions?
Yes, Mama, as usual.
Well, I mean, Rajani, I would like to actually clarify 1 or 2 points from the questions
Yeah.
you asked earlier.
Huh.
See, you first day, I think you asked a question about Dharma Shastra, right? Whether Yudhishthira, whether it was right on his part to have pledged or put his wife as a in the gambling game, right?
Mama, yes.
So without going into judgment, which I told you that we should not judge people, and then there is a different Dharma Shastra. I mean, dharmas are all defined for different kind of people. And including dharmas change from time to time, rather, right? So I told you about general dharmas and specific dharmas. But what we must focus on in studying all these things is, what is the message it is giving? Instead of focusing on the event, we should actually focus on the message we get out of it. What is the message? A Dharmaputra like Yudhishthira, who is embodiment of Dharma, when he sits down, by whatever compulsions he may be, to do gambling, he could even go to the extent of actually putting his wife as a what they call, gambling. I don't know the terminology, as a
As
bet,
the stake
Betting.
as a bet.
agent.
Right.
Stake.
So the message is gambling is very dangerous even for kings. That is the message. So even for kings it is dangerous. What about us? If we sit in a gambling table and you can see how many people's lives have been ruined because of this gambling, horse racing. And all that.
No, Mama, I was very much satisfied with your explanation, the first class itself, because you mentioned about
But
those days.
I was not satisfied because I didn't bring out this particular point. Whenever we are reading the scriptures, we should focus on the message of the scriptures, not what the event is being described. Scriptures use many type of events. We don't even know whether they are real or not, because itihasa, as I told you, not in this class probably, itihasa means it is history but combined with lot of fiction. It is like I gave the example of this Titanic movie. Titanic movie is history with lot of fiction, which is true, which is not true, we may not know that, right? So we must understand they are meant for giving us messages. That is what we want. Okay.
Okay, Mama. Thank you so much. Please consider we are nursery students when compared to you. So just trying to understand this. So some questions maybe.
Thanks to you, many other people also will have similar questions, but they will understand. They take this opportunity to understand these aspects, right?
Okay. Today I wanted to ask you, you were mentioning a lot about Shastras, isn't it, Mama? So I was trying to understand. So Shastras are probably, lot many Shastras are there. I don't know how many Shastras are there. So could you a little bit more elaborate when you are talking about Shastras? I don't know. Okay, I only heard elders in the house saying Shastra Prakaram, ipdi pandanam, Shastra Prakaram idakam pandanam. So, but I don't know where Shastras, how many Shastras are there? How do we know which Shastra to follow? We are told by elders, that's fine. But how do we know? Unless you have a guru, like I mentioned, I'm still in the quest of probably one day I probably will find the guru when the right time comes. I'm praying for that only, but I don't know. So how will I know?
See, when you are talking of Shastra, the word itself, we must understand that there are lot of scriptures, there's a lot of texts are there, right? Because Upanishad itself is one form which is got 108 Upanishads are there. Similarly, you have got a Bhagavad Gita. Then you have got 18 Puranas. Then you have got another 18 Upapuranas. And Itihasas, we talk only about 2, Mahabharata and Ramayana, but there are so many other Itihasas also. So when we are talking about a lot of texts. But when we say Shastra, we have to understand that there is 6 layers of Shastras.
Okay.
The bottommost layer is what we call Bhashyam layer. Bhashyam layer actually is a layer which is, or rather I will start with the top layer. That will be a better way to understand. The top layer is called Vedas. And these Vedas we know, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharvana Veda. Because if you are attending Tattva Bodha classes, you will understand all these things much more in detail, because I have already taught them, those students, all these things. Right? Because since you are raising this question here, I will briefly explain. So the Vedas are not human compositions. They are divine compositions. They are given by Ishvara himself. For what? For the human beings to lead a proper life and achieve all their goals in their life. So the Vedas are the basic roadmap for our entire life. They contain a lot of karmas, everything, jnanam, karma kanda, jnana kanda, everything is there. So that is divine. We never question the wisdom which is there in the Vedas. So then the next level it comes. So Vedas are also called Shruti Granthas. Shruti means that which is heard. So Vedas were never written. they were actually passed on from generation to generation merely by hearing. People used to memorize these all the Vedas and then mantras, pass it on to the next generation by oral tradition. So that's why it is called Shruti. Vedas are also called Shruti, right? And the next level is called Smriti Granthas. And in Smriti Granthas, what they do is, it is a human endeavor. For example, Bhagavad Gita is a Smriti. There is a Yagyavalkya Smriti. There, so many Smritis are there. What they do is that the messages in the Vedas are more organized in the Smriti Granthas. In Vedas, different messages are all, strewn all over. In the Smriti Granthas, what these people, these rishis and munis, they did was, they understood all the Vedic messages, but they tried to classify them into subject-wise and what is relevant and all that. So those Smritis were done. Like for example, Veda Vyasa composed this Bhagavad Gita as a moksha shastra. So what all the steps in attaining moksha one needs to go through, he composed that Bhagavad Gita, inserted that in Mahabharata and made it like a advice or upadesha given by Krishna to Arjuna. This is second level. Okay. In fact, even before this level of Smriti, there is one level called Sutra Granthas. Sutra Granthas are again man-made by Rishis Munis. They are also contain the messages of the Vedas, but they are in a very cryptic form. They are not in a very explanatory form. They will be very, very, those, if we read the sutras, we won't be able to understand anything unless somebody explains what it means. So the Sutra Granthas are the second level. They are very, what we call in English, aphorisms, I don't know, cryptic. They're called sutras. But they are the first attempt made in order to classify the Vedas in a more meaningful manner to suit individual groups of people. There is the Apastamba Sutra, Jaimini Sutra, so many sutras are there, right? When you come to Vedanta, there is Brahma Sutra. So all you will find just two words or three words. But the commentary on the three words will run into 50 pages. To understand three words, you will have to understand so many things. So that is the Sutra literature. Then comes the Smriti literature. Then the fourth level is what we call is Smriti Purana. So there are 18 Puranas written by Vedavyasa. Then there are another 18 Upapuranas are there. So they are all, further diluting the message. Because if you see, Veda is the most concentrated. Then Sutra, slight dilution. Then when you come to Smriti Granthas, more dilution. When you come to Puranas, more dilution. In fact, Puranas introduced all these imaginative characters and things like that and all. With, whether those stories, but Puranas are also supposed to be real stories only, but more kind of imagination, glorifying, Devatas and all that. That's why we have Vishnu Purana, Narada Purana. So many Puranas are there, 18 Puranas. Most important of the Bhagavata Purana, which we all are very familiar. Then in the next level, Purana, it comes Itihasa. Itihasa, like I said, Mahabharatam and Ramayana are the two Itihasas, main Itihasas. And they again are further dilution of the message of the Vedas, picking up one or two particular aspects of the Vedic injunctions and trying to expound that with the live examples of people who have lived that, those values. For example, if you take Ramayana, there are certain values which are there in Ramayana. The one value is Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, which comes in Taittiriya Upanishad. These two values, his entire life of Rama is going to the forest and all that, is nothing but exposition of these two values. Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava. I am treating my father and mother as my Devata, my God. Whatever they say, I will not question, I will just obey, period. So that value of that treating one's parents as devatas, as gods, is emphasized in Rama's behavior. And why? For us to take a clue from that we should also do that. That's all. So that is one. I mean, like that, so many Harichandra Purana is there. There are also similar messages. Satyam Vada, Harishchandra went through so much, difficulties and miseries because he stuck on to Satyam Vada. Satyam Vada again, two words only in the Vedas. So they are all just trying to expose, the exposition of the values and how we must understand, take the messages, and also in a very diluted form. Because the thing is, all these things we have to understand as the time progresses, the intellectual capability of human coming down, which we are seeing, we are witnessing that every day, right? People, once upon a time, everybody understood all the Vedas. Then, because they felt that some people were not able to understand, some rishis thought that, okay, let us compose the sutras. And that also people felt, intellectual capacity coming down. Then they made this Smriti Granthas. So like that it goes on. And now, even what is there in the Itihasas, for us to explain that, we require commentaries, which is called the Bhashyam literature, which is the 6th level. So today, if we have to understand, read Upanishads and understand, read Bhagavad Gita and understand, read Vishnu Sahasranamam and understand, what we require is a Bhashyam, some commentary by some, exalted Acharya, who is a very, super intelligent, super intellectual Acharya like Adi Shankara, explaining what this all means. So today we have come to that level where by reading Vishnu Sahasranama, or even by knowing Sanskrit and reading Vishnu Sahasranama, we will not be able to understand what message it is conveying. So we require a Bhashyam. So this is the structure in which the entire, Shastras are there. Now, as a human being, what should be our approach? We must first try the lowest level, KG, upper KG level, isn't it? Read the Itihasas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, try to understand the messages that they are conveying without worrying whether Ravana had 10 heads. Is it a fact? How can one have 10 heads? If you spend your time in this analysis, you will never understand the message. So if you are in the spiritual path, focus on the message, not on the events, not on the characters. Rama is not don't look at Rama as the king of Ayodhya. Look at Rama as what character he actually, portrayed. What was his, value system of Rama. And as a king, what was the value system that he was forced to follow? So if you want to become a king, keep it in your mind that you will be required to take certain unpalatable decisions, which may actually be, conflicting with your own conscience. But you will have to take those decisions in the interest of the public because you are a ruler. So many messages are there. So you start understanding like that.
Yeah.
And then step by step, then go to Puranas, Bhagavatam Purana, you study. You try to understand the message. Message, not the story. Krishna ate, this thing, he danced with the gopis. And, all beautiful stories are there. Very, very engrossing stories. If you get lost in the stories, message you will never get. That's what most people, happens to most people. They get lost in the stories. So then after Puranas, you come to, let's say, Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita again tried with the guru, understand what it is about. Different gurus will interpret Bhagavad Gita in different ways. So you have to understand which guru is making sense to you. Because if you say it is Moksha Shastra, Bhagavad Gita, what does moksha mean to you? You have to understand. But there is a very beautiful shloka. I'm not remembering it now. Next class, you remind me. I will tell you that shloka.
Okay.
And that shloka beautifully defines these three philosophies: Dvaitam, Visishta Advaitam, and Advaita.
Hmm.
It's a shloka which I think occurs in Tulsi Ramayana, or I don't remember. It's a dialogue between Rama and Hanuman. A beautiful shloka is there. I will tell you that. And if you
Okay.
understand that shloka, what are these three in one shloka? Hanuman beautifully explains. So once you understand that, then you will understand what is Dvaitam, what is Visishta Advaitam, what is Advaita. As so far as we are concerned, from our point of view, we don't accept any other philosophies. The most three popular philosophies are in our Hindu culture: Dvaitam, Advaitam, and Visishta. In the order: Dvaitam, Visishta, Advaitam, and Advaita. So when you understand what these three are, you pick up any one and start understanding from that perspective. Study Advaitam also. Study Dvaitam also. Study Visishta Advaitam also. Then what makes sense to you? Because we have got a reasoning power. A logic can be applied. And in fact, when you come to Brahma, this Advaita, and read Adi Shankara's Bhashya, the way he actually dismisses Visishta Advaitam and Dvaitam as philosophies which do not have, their self-contradictory philosophies. They will say one thing here and a totally contradictory thing elsewhere. He points out all those weaknesses of those philosophies. And his focus is, what is the message of the Upanishads? What is the message which is conveyed at the end of all the Vedas? That is what is the most important thing to understand for moksha. So as I told you, you must first have your goal fixed in your mind. If the goal is moksha, then you start, reading or studying those relevant scriptures for that purpose. So it's a process. It cannot be done in 2 years, 3 years, and all that. It's a long process. Sometimes you will, by intuitively, you will know a lot of things. So you may skip many things, oh, this I know, and all that. But this is a proper study there. It's a PhD level study. So if you have enough blessings of Ishvara, and you have got all the right karmas which are going to mature in your life, a guru will automatically drop in at your place. The guru who is going to guide you. In fact, there is a story about Swami Vivekananda. He went around, he was doing guru hopping from one guru to another guru, and he was not at all satisfied. Because he wanted only one thing. He asked every guru, can you go show God to me? And every guru told him, I can explain what is God, but I cannot show you God. But God is invisible, right?
Yes.
Then he went to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Then Ramakrishna Paramahamsa told him, I can show you God. And then he showed him God. How? He showed him his own self. He gave him Atma Bodha. He gave him self-knowledge. He said, you are God. What God you are wanting to see? If you see your true self, you are God. And that is how Swami Vivekananda became Swami Vivekananda. So we have stories, the guru automatically will come. And then there is also a story that you must have that very, very strong desire for this moksha. Moksha is not a film that you go, buy a ticket and go and see in some movie hall, 3 hours, oh, I've got moksha. You must have that strong desire for moksha. Once you have that strong desire, automatically a guru will come into your life. That you need not worry. That you can take it for granted. As Paul Coelho says in that his, I think, work, Secret, or I don't remember, he says that When you have a very strong desire in your mind, the nature conspires to make it happen. I mean, there are some similar words he uses. I read it long ago, I forgot it. So when you have that very strong desire, the nature will make it happen. And honestly speaking, I have experienced this myself. I have experienced whenever I get a very strong desire for something, it happens. Something happens and that desire gets fulfilled. So let us leave a lot of things to nature, which is what we, according to one of our views, the entire nature, prapancha is samashti, is what is Ishvara. All the powers of all the jivas put together is Ishvara. Right?
Yes.
That is what it is. So when we say Ishvara is all powerful, what do we mean? Ishvara has got no form, no shape, nothing. We humans have given shapes like Lord Vishnu, Rama and all that. Right?
Yeah.
Whoever draws Rama, we have got that Rama, Sita and all. Has anybody seen Rama to say that Rama looks like this? Rama is portrayed as like you and me only, with all this makeup, you know. That's what it is. Krishna, we see Krishna in so many photos. You know, when Bhagavad Gita was, composed, when the Mahabharata war was fought, you know what was the age of Krishna and Arjuna?
No,
Can you just guess?
Maybe in the late 30s, maybe, I don't know.
Good, very good. That is what we can relate to. You know what was the age of Krishna when Mahabharata war was fought? Krishna was 84 years old and Arjuna was 80 years old. Can you imagine? This is our problem. Because we try to relate everything to what our conditions are, and we think that if somebody has to fight a war like Mahabharata war, he should be in his 25, 30s. Because our own army people, we retire them when they are 45. Krishna fought when he was 84 and then Arjuna fought when he was 84. Because the age was different in that yuga. The normal average age or average life of a human being was different in that yuga as compared to our Kali Yuga. So these are all things that when we study the Shastras, when we study all these scriptures and all, we understand all these things, these differences and all. So what I'm saying is, when you have this desire and all that, if it's a serious desire that you want a guru will automatically drop in from somewhere and he will guide you in your spiritual path, whatever path you want to take. That is the maximum I can tell you.
No, thank you. No, thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Any other question? Or we can wind up.
धन्यवादः महोदय नमस्ते
धन्यवाद.
Hari Om. Thank you. See you next
हरि
week.
ओम
We'll start
Namaste.
the article next Sunday. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Guruji. Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste.
Namaste.
All of you. Namaste.